It wasn't until late in 1999 that I was in London and I met my friend, Aimé Lévy was his name, and he had received the startling and shocking report called The Findings from David Bailey. And we started talking about that. I hadn't read them, but it was quite a shock to hear what David Bailey was saying. And quite a lot of the things resonated, like Vibhuti and how he dropped pellets on the ground and how some materializations were said to be fake and this sort of thing. David Bailey was a concert pianist who knew the Queen Elizabeth and the royal family and taught the prince's music. He was also a close favourite of Sai Baba for some years. He taught Sai students music and one day was approached by a number of them asking him to help them stop Sai Baba abusing them sexually. He investigated at length and was horrified at what he found. I had a ring which Sai Baba had given me, which I had virtually thought, because of what Sai Baba said, it was a very valuable diamond, very, very valuable. Some people had got it assayed, had got their valued similar green diamond rings assayed and found out they were $5 or $6 million. A load of rubbish. They weren't. They could never have been, even if they had been genuine diamonds. But they were synthetic sapphires. Some 2 years later, I got it assayed by a top expert, Queen Margarita's jeweller in Copenhagen. And he opened it up and he said, no, this is a synthetic diamond, worth about $10 in India at the time. That stone. It was in a gold setting, which was worth something. Christmas Eve 1986, Sai Baba gave me a green stone and gold ring. I later realised his so-called materialisation was sleight of hand. In a private interview the day before, I'd offered to donate £6,000, which I didn't have with me. He said, come tomorrow to interview. In retrospect, he clearly gave these supposed very holy blessings with trinkets and such like, in expectation of a huge payback, as he did successfully with countless followers. I finally lost faith. Began to investigate the sex abuses, and it took me a long time.
After you lost faith, what were the relationships with other devotees like? Your close friends and even Narasimha, the people of the organization?
The organization, I didn't start talking to them at all about it because I knew what difficulties would be with that. But I began in my own group, and of course with my wife, Raidun, and she was very shocked at first. She wouldn't accept what I was saying. I was saying that was bloke, because I'd come to that stage by now. I was convinced by this time, and we never had an argument about it. We did solve it, on amicable terms. And a number of other people in the organisation, I had been telling them details of this and that and the other, and eventually I began to tell them. And one way and another, about half of the people in the group were in agreement with me, became in agreement with me. And they joined, some of them joined in the work as well. And a good number of others wouldn't and couldn't because they were totally involved, emotionally attached. And all their social relations circulated only about this, and there would be just a vacuum afterwards, And what could one do? We couldn't keep it going just so they wouldn't have a vacuum. Well, that was that. Then, when I first began to publish critical articles about him, I published them under a pseudonym for about 2 or 3 weeks because of the power of the organisation to sue and to cause all sorts of trouble, and I hadn't figured it out. I thought it would be dangerous. I had death threats as well. When it came out, eventually I've had several death threats. And so it took me a while to realise that, no, I've got to use my own name and come out. And I thought, it's the one thing I've tried in my life, keep a low profile, avoid a high profile, because I don't like the idea of being a public figure. I never did. And unfortunately, it didn't make me into a public figure because I'm retired by this time. I'm a public figure on the internet for the Sai Baba people, and I've had a tremendous amount of abuse stuff like that. But I've also had a great deal of supportive stuff and masses of information which have only bolstered my certainty that I'm right, basically.